All right, in this video, it's all about the characteristics of this function that we're given on a graph. So we've got to talk about our positive and negative sections, where the function is increasing and where it's decreasing, and then we need to talk about the end behavior. So I'm going to break each one of those parts down so that you know how to answer each and every one of these characteristics. So let's start with positive and negative. When we talk about the positive and negative sections of a function, basically all we're talking about is where is the function above the x-axis. So anything up in here above this x-axis, that's going to be our positive section. Anything down below it, I'll just use a different color for you here. Anything below the x-axis, that would be our negative section. So how do we represent that when looking at a function like this? We're going to need to use an inequality to talk about where is it above and where is it below. So let's start with positive. This is a pretty easy section right here. I look at this function and the only parts of it that are positive are going to be this part that I'm drawing right here. That is our positive section. That's the only information that is above this x-axis. So if I look at my x-axis, I'm starting at -3. So from -3, it continues until I hit 0. So I'm at -3 right here, 0 right there. So my positive section is going to be between, x has got to be greater than -3, but less than 0. Anything between -3 and 0, our information is above the x-axis. That's this information right in here. There's our positive section. Okay? Our negative section is going to be everything that's below the information. So what we got to do for negative is we got to represent that in two sections. We look at here, we're negative from this number to the left. So from -3 to -infinity, we just keep going. The information is below. So we're going to say negative is x is from -infinity to -3. So this section from -3 down to the left, we are below the x-axis. Our other piece of information we need to write about is from here to here. All of this information is below our x-axis. So how do I represent that? From 0 to positive infinity as I continue to the right. So x is greater than 0. Any number is greater than 0 to the right of the origin, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So from 0 to positive infinity, our information is negative. It is below the x-axis. So that's how you're going to answer your positive and negative sections. It's just basically what's above the x-axis, this section. What's below it, everything to the right of 0, everything to the left of 3. Everything to the left of 3, everything to the right of 0. Okay? Now, increasing, decreasing. This is basically just up from left to right, down from left to right. So as you start farthest left, like you read a book, we read from left to right. So we're going to start here. Even though that arrow is pointing downward, that does not mean we're decreasing, because if I start here and I make my way to the right, I'm moving upward. I'm going up, I'm rising. So this is an increasing section and it stops right there. That's when I start to come back down. This would be my decreasing section. So increasing section, decreasing section. How do we represent it over here? We use an inequality just like we did up there. So anytime my number is less than -2, I would be rising, right? As I go from left to right, I'm rising until I get to -2. So when x is less than -2, we are increasing. When x is less than -2, we are increasing. Now, once I get to -2, notice that my function starts to go down. It's dropping from left to right. It's going downward. So anything after -2, those would be numbers that are greater than -2. We have decreasing. So decreasing is when x is greater than -2. That's how you would answer that. Now, end behavior. What does end behavior have to do with? That has to do with this arrow and this arrow here at the end. If we continue on, so as we make our way to the right, as our x numbers make their way, or as x approaches infinity, so as I keep going right, what's the function going to keep going? Down. It's going to keep diving down further and further and further. So as I go towards infinity, As x approaches infinity, y approaches, well, because it's going down, 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 further and further and further, it's going to approach negative infinity. Okay, now when we go as x approaches negative infinity, so again, as x, my x values go towards negative infinity, that's further and further left. The farther and farther left I go, this continues to go down. It's going down further and further and farther, lower and lower and lower, right? So as x approaches negative infinity, my y values are also going to be going farther down towards negative infinity. Again, positive and negative. Information that's above, that's the positive. Information below, that's your negative. Increasing, decreasing, from left to right. I'm rising, so I'm increasing, now I'm decreasing. Now I'm rising, I'm increasing, I'm decreasing. I'm rising, I'm increasing, now I'm decreasing. That's your increasing, decreasing. You just section it off. This right here would be a decrease. From here to here would be an increase. Here to here would be a decrease. Here to here would be an increase. And then last but not least, end behavior. As you're moving farther to the right, are you going up or are you going down? If you're going down, you're going towards negative infinity. If you're rising up, you'd be going towards positive infinity. Okay? Hopefully this makes sense. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.